A major shift in power for a key U.S. ally. France's new president is a socialist. Election night in France. François Hollande beat conservative incumbent Nicolas Sarkozy. It was a runoff. It all came down to the economy, and where have we heard all of this before? Look at the celebrating going. It sounds pretty familiar. Hala Garani standing by for us in Paris. It comes down to the economy. Hala, so the president-elect, Hollande, he just took to the stage before thousands of supporters there. What was his message?
Well, his message was, look, 48.5% of this country didn't vote for me. So my primary duty as the president-elect is to unite the country. His primary duty as well, of course, as you mentioned there, is to fix this economy and to fix the debt crisis that has hit this entire Eurozone, including Greece, Spain, Portugal, Italy. Nicolas Sarkozy is just one of about a dozen of leaders in this region that has lost his job as a result of the deteriorating economy. The unemployment rate in the United States, around 8%. In France, it's over 10%. And France and all these countries in the region have to figure out a way to get the Eurozone out of this mountain of debt that is weighing it down. Now, the big difference between Nicolas Sarkozy, whom Americans are probably more familiar with, and François Hollande, who was just elected, is that Nicolas Sarkozy and the German chancellor came to an agreement. They said, here's the solution to the debt crisis. We are going to cut spending. But François Hollande, the socialist, says, not so fast. We also need a growth plan. And that all sounds well and good, but in order for a growth plan to work, you have to find money somewhere. What are you going to do? Raise taxes, create Eurobonds, get money from the European Central Bank? All those are details that still need to be hammered out. And uncertainty is always an issue for markets, including the U.S. markets, Don.
Yeah. And the interesting thing, you know, we Americans are always going to figure out, how does this affect me? What about me? What about me? It's going to affect the U.S. markets, as you said. But obviously, when people went to the polls to vote in France, they weren't thinking about the world economy. They weren't thinking about the European economy or the Eurozone or how it was going to work. They wanted just their own country with those austerity measures that they don't like. That's what they went to vote on.
Look, you know what strikes me is I live in the U.S. and I'm reporting on this French election. And when I ask voters here, just ordinary French people, what's your biggest concern? Very few said immigration. Very few said insecurity. Almost no one said terrorism. But everybody said something about either purchasing power or joblessness. And it's the same thing in the United States. This economic crisis in the Western world is hitting everyone, and it's hitting everyone very hard. There's another component to this election that's interesting, that's slightly different from the U.S., and that is that Nicolas Sarkozy, as a candidate, really started to irritate certain people, even people on the right. They found him flashy. They found him vulgar. So people who in 2007 had voted for Nicolas Sarkozy, who are committed right-wing, voters, said, you know what, this time around, just because I personally dislike this man, I voted for his opponent. So that was also very interesting this time around.
Yeah, we're all connected. It just shows you the world's getting smaller and smaller. Thank you, Hala Garani. Appreciate your reporting. We'll be following up with Hala later on CNN. Deep austerity cuts, you heard Hala talking about it, also changing the political landscape of Greece. Voters are booting out the centrists who pushed those measures. Greece's economy is so bad it could drag the rest of Europe down with it. The country accepted bailout money in exchange for extreme spending cuts, but they're so unpopular that voters flocked to the far right and the far left today.